Ladies and gents, you guys know how we rock and roll. We back from halftime. We gave you guys an intro on who we will have joining us on the opposite side of the half. And that guy is now with us right now. All things covered, Bryant McFadden, Patrick Peterson. We got a treat for the Kansas City Chiefs fan base and the Minnesota Vikings fan base as well. 4th round draft pick out of Idaho State in 2004, 13-year NFL pro, four-time first team All-Pro. Make sure I say it the right way. 4-time first team All-Pro, named one of the 50 greatest Vikings ever. That's big time. His foundation, Jared Allen Homes for Wounded Warriors, is a big time deal as well. We will tap into that. Jared Allen joining me here, all things covered. Patrick Peterson, Bryan McFadden. How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing well. Yourselves?
Man, it's a great day to be alive, man. You got a nice background behind you. I see you got something in your cup, man. You living the life right now.
Just tea. Yeah, I wish, it's a little early for anything but tea, but, and I can't really get down to the sweet tea like they do in the South.
Yeah.
It's a little too much, so I just go regular sun tea.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the South, it's mandatory. You got to have some nice sweet tea. You don't really get that when you go up north, but Southern sweet tea is definitely the best.
I appreciate the sweet tea, but just, maybe like 1 cup. Other than that, it's just too much sugar.
Yeah, no question. It's a sugar rush, but that's the kick of having a nice pitcher of sweet tea. You got to get that sugar rush going. You got to get that sugar rush.
Her teeth rotted out, but yeah, it's definitely. And I know why they drink so much of it, because it's so hot and humid down here that you gotta have something cold in your glass. If you were drinking beer or whiskey all day, you'd just be bombed. So.
Oh, you're going to pass out. You're drinking too much alcohol in that heat. You're going to pass out quick. So, hey, Jared, let's start. Of course, there's so much we can talk about regarding football, but let's start away from the football field with this first question. We know you're a big-time fisherman. Love fishing. What advice would you give Pat P about fishing in Minnesota?
So, I do more hunting than fishing. So, fishing, Brian Robeson was more of the fisherman, but and I have the worst luck fishing, period. I know how to fish. Fishing's fun. Worst luck, everybody catches but me. But I would tell them, in Minnesota, ice fishing is key. Everybody catches stuff ice fishing. And be honest, you sit in a warm, toasty house, drinking beers with your bud, and it doesn't really matter if you catch fish.
Yeah. What was the biggest fish you ever caught in Minnesota?
You know what? We would ice fish, so crappies and stuff like that. So nothing crazy. Like I said, I was more out hunting with my buddies up north and that kind of stuff. I left the because I'm not like a catch and release guy. So like bass fishing is kind of like not that cool, I don't think, because you're just like, what's the point if you can't keep it? I'd rather get skunked. I'd rather get skunked or maxed out. Like no in between.
No doubt. Born in Texas, raised in California, how did you seize the opportunity at Idaho State and parlay that into becoming a 4th round draft pick?
I think I was just pissed off that I was at Idaho State.
Hey, I bet you guys didn't have any sweet tea up there, huh?
No, gosh, no. They didn't even have, this is how old I am, right? This is how, kind of Idaho was back about 10 years behind. So, I had a digital Nextel in high school, you chirp everybody back when that was cool. When I got to Idaho, Pocatello, they still only had analog phones. So
wow.
my digital phone wouldn't even work back in 2000 when I first got there. So, yeah, it was great. Ended up at Idaho State, and I told my obviously everybody's heard the story. Got in a little bit of trouble, lost some scholarships, ended up at Idaho State, but it all worked out the way it's supposed to. Man, it was a fun journey, and just had fun. Like I said, I told my dad when I was 8 I was going to play pro ball. So I put all my eggs in that basket when I was my entire life. So I didn't really have a choice but to make it. Like I said, Then I had a bigger chip on my shoulder because I was. I wasn't playing in the Pac-10 like I had planned on, and so yeah, I just that's kind of the road it took and the mentality I had, and so we had a lot of fun up there, and ended up with the Chiefs.
And a fun fact for our listeners and our viewers: 28 players ever drafted from Idaho State. 28 players drafted. You were one of them.
Yeah, most like Alabama's got that 1 year.
No question. They do that 1 year. Yeah, 1 year, 28. and half of them probably go in the first round.
Yeah, right. They even take the backups. So yeah, we'll just take him. He'll probably be good next year. We'll get him at a discount this year.
Yeah. And you get drafted in the 4th round to the Kansas City Chiefs. You tallied 27 and a half sacks in your first 3 years. But the Chiefs didn't award you with a massive deal. in a deal that clearly you were deserving of receiving. Rather, you got that 1 year tender, the franchise, if I'm not mistaken, or was it the tender?
So they tendered me, and then I got franchised.
And then you got the franchise.
And that's when I was like, nope.
And how did, I was going to ask, you know what I mean? Because I was in the league at that time, and you was terrorizing every tackle you were going against. Clearly you had the numbers to back it, but how did you interpret that tender from the organization?
Well, at that time, the tender at first, I was like, all right, listen, because I got in a little trouble my third year. And I was like, I told him, I said, what, I'll sign the tender. I'll prove to you guys that, I was just immature, screwing around, trying to have too much fun and take care of business. But I told him, I said, but if you franchise tag me, like, I'm out, right? Like, so they knew going in. So I signed the tender. I didn't even think about it, right? Went out, led the league in sacks, all that stuff, my fourth year. And then they tried to franchise me. And, we had given them, and to be honest, I mean, it all worked out. Thank God that did, because, the contract that we gave for them that they ended up obviously not signing was minuscule compared to what Dwight Freeney hit, and then so, while I'm in the middle of negotiations, Dwight Freeney comes and breaks the bank. And, at the time, my 4 years stacked up better than Dwight's 4 years. And they're trying to, they were trying to franchise me. And I was like, nope. So ended up, getting them to, talking them into trading me up to Minnesota, a little sign and trade, and was able to get, the contract up there. But yeah, it was crazy because I never wanted to leave Kansas City. I love Kansas City, and that was, I was all in. And, you come out of college and you're still in that, blind loyalty to your team that you drafted you. You don't really understand the business side of it. At least a fourth rounder doesn't, because we sign what we're told to sign. And, so yeah, I had an opportunity to get up to Minnesota. Obviously, the rest spoke for itself. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those deals where, we were trying to, I thank God they didn't sign it, because, I think it was at the time, we were asking for like 4 years, 28, right? Something, like $7 million a year. Then Dwight Freeney comes out with $12 million a year. And your mind's like, I mean, defensive players weren't seeing that kind of money. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so Minnesota put their faith in me, and the rest was history.
And talking about Minnesota and joining their defense, when you got traded to Minnesota, that defensive line was already stacked. You just made it even, better, playing with Pat Williams and Kevin Williams. How did their presence elevate your game even more? Man, you know what? Because it was constant competition in the D-line room, right? To who was going to lead in sacks, who was going to lead in tackles, it was constant competition. Iron sharpens iron, right? So, you get in there with guys like that, and to be honest, it was difficult at first. It took Kevin and I a little bit to learn how to play against each other, because I was so used to making plays up and down the line, where now it's like, man, I really got to rush to get there because Kevin and Pat are there, and now I got guys that, excuse me, got guys that are dominant in the middle. So it really took us, a few weeks, Kevin and I, to really learn how to play off each other. And to be honest, we played best when we were separated. When he was on one side, I was on the other. And I loved rushing with Pat at the nose, because I think you ask any defensive end, when you know that your nose guard is going to get 3 yards of push, like it makes life easy. You can just shoot a shot inside, outside. I told Pat, I was like, Pat, I'll get you 4 or 5 sacks a year. Just stand there. And, and I was like, you just get 2-3 yards deep, it's over. So yeah, man, it was crazy. But I think the biggest part was that competitive, playing with guys that were great, and me coming in, being the new guy, obviously, coming with all the hype of leading the league in sacks. And then, coming to a defense that was very run focused, just really helped you sharpen all your tools, man. It really helped me elevate and expect greatness for myself year in and year out as well. Yeah. What was your reaction when Brett Favre signed with the Vikings entering your second year with the team? Man, that was insane, right? So like I always laugh and tell people, I go, this is how I knew like he was a head and shoulders above all of us. Because when he came into the parking lot, I mean, the entire team, there's probably not that many, but there's probably 25, 30 of us, like faces pressed up against the glass watching. And I look down, it's me, Kevin, Pat, Antoine Winfield, Greenway. You had all pros with their face pressed up against the glass just to catch a glimpse of this guy coming into your locker room, right? Yeah, and, he was a living legend at the time. Yeah, it's like, man, it's amazing. And so, but then he comes in and you see the work ethic. And I try and tell people about that when people ask about Brett, because the legend that is.
I said, the reason he is, I mean, that dude's work ethic was second to none. I'd call him sometimes. Maybe it's just because he couldn't go anywhere without being bothered. But, you know, like, hey, it'd be 10:30 at night. He might text you a question. He'd still be at the facility, or, you know, or like, hey, you want to go hunting? Nah, man, I'm going to be at the facility till, you know, 9 on a Friday, just breaking down film, watch it. So, like, the dude put it in. He worked his butt off in practice. And, you know, so what you saw on the field is what he practiced. So, you know, I had a lot of respect for that, for his work ethic. And there's another guy that just, he brought out greatness in others, right? Like, and then maybe because it's just Brett, and you get around that, you're like, I don't want to be the guy to let this guy down. And so, yeah, you just went out there and performed with a confidence, because you knew you had a guy behind the helm that was that was capable of anything.
Yeah, and because of that, you guys had a successful year that season. And we have to talk about that 2009 conference championship game. You know what I mean? What sticks out over a decade later about that overtime loss to the Saints?
I'll never forget the 4th and 1. I mean, the guy fumbled, plain and simple. But, you know, I mean, I was like, you can't advance fumble on 4th down. So I don't know how he fumbled it backwards and then did that. But, hey, it is what it is. No, I mean, I always I constantly tell people, I say, had we gone on to win the Super Bowl, that might have been that team right there could have arguably been, you know, top 10 teams in the NFL, you know. Just you look at that season, the way we started, some of the wins that we had, just, I mean, it was spectacular. I mean, we were dominating people on both sides of the ball. But I also tell people it's crazy because we were so dominant that year that we had some glaring holes that just got overlooked, right? You know, you're scoring 40 points, you're holding people to 10. You know, you really kind of don't think, but we had some injuries. We were missing some depth in some key areas. And then 2010 comes, and we got some injuries in those key areas, you know, from our starters, and, you know, the wall crumbled. But man, 2009 was insane. I mean, I think that taught me, like, really what it was to be on that upper echelon team, right? You know, in my career, you could benchmark that. So my last year with Carolina, when we got to go to the Super Bowl, you could feel that. You could feel it. Like, yep, this is very similar. There's that match. You know, I always likened Cam with his energy, was playing like Brett. You know, he was out of his mind. We were winning some games that, you know, that were close. We were blowing people out. Defense was insane. So yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool to really be able to benchmark yourself in that career of what the elite looks like, right? Yeah. When you're constantly scrapping to be 9-7, 10-6, you know, getting in, and like, Brett was a real deal. Well, just Trent Green got hurt, so I never really had a true franchise quarterback, you know, in my career, at least not like Brett. And you get that, and you see that difference, and you see why. You know, why those teams that are constantly, the New Englands were constantly, and you're like, okay, this is an expectation, and it raises everybody's play. It's a cool deal.
Yeah. I mean, quarterbacks are super important. You know what I mean? Herm Elwood said it best. If you don't have a quarterback to field 150 yards.
Yeah.
You know,
like that. I don't think they're $500 million a year important, but come on.
Yeah. But and that's what, you know what, Jared, that's one thing people don't really talk about too much, how good that 2009 team was. I mean, look at offensively, you got Brett Favre, who was balling. Adrian Peterson still playing at a high level. Defensively, you guys were stacked. And like you said, man, just get into that level of playing in a conference championship game. You got to play clean football.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that team was crazy. I you know, people talk about, you know, our defense, right? I mean, you had myself, you know, Pat and Kevin, obviously. You had Antoine, who is probably the most underrated cornerback that has played. But I mean, Chad Greenway, I mean, he I think, you know, because we played a true 4-3, he never got the Pro Bowl nods. I think he ended up with like 2 or 3 in his career. But I mean, that dude constantly was like, you know, top 10 in tackles every single year in the league. Yeah. You know, we had EJ Henderson was an insane downhill Mike linebacker. That dude could thump anybody, you know. Yeah. You know, he reminded me, you know, Fletcher, London Fletcher, right?
London Fletcher,
Fletcher wasn't going to cover people in the flat, but that's where EJ could actually run side to side better than Fletch. But you know, those two would come downhill faster than anybody. So I mean, you look at that, just our front seven alone, Ben Lieber playing off the will. I mean, we were insanely stacked. You know, and then, you know, like you said, I mean, Percy Harvin, you got
Sidney Rice.
Look what Sidney Rice did that year. You know, Brett brought the best out of everybody. I mean, with Big Mac had an all-pro year that year. You know, Hutch speaks for himself. The dude's in the Hall.
Hall of Fame.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you look down that line and you're like, man, but I laugh and joke. I go, our weakest link on defense was still getting 8 sacks and 50 tackles a year, right? Yeah. You know, our D-line, like everybody's like, oh yeah, the three. I'm like, Ray Edwards was a legit player, like that dude. But because I was getting 14, I Pat Kevin and I, I'm like, when the least statistical guy on your field is 50 tackles and 8 sacks in a year, it's a pretty good defense to be on.
Do you think you guys would have matched up well against the Colts if you got to the Super Bowl?
I think we would have smashed them because I know preseason, but we had a little one quarter in the game, but we came in the preseason that year. Their starters we were like, all right, we're playing one series, whether it's 15 plays or that. I think we came out, it was like 3 plays, an incomplete, 2 sacks, and we were gone.
Yeah.
We were gone. We were licking our chops. I think we just knew, obviously Peyton's a beast in his own right, but we just knew when we got to that level it wasn't going to be. I think our defense matched that offense well. The heat we could put up front, we knew we could neutralize Peyton just by forcing him to get the ball where we wanted him to. They went on and the Saints went on and won the Super Bowl. So, but yeah, it was one of those deals. You just you're sitting there. You go from celebrating, thinking you're going, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, we lost? How did this happen?
Oh, man. Devastating. And like I said, I know it's been over a decade, but clearly, man, that loss still has to haunt and feel some type of way about it because you guys were right there.
Well, then I my last year with Carolina, I'm playing with Roman Harper, who's my guy. And, he was on that 2009 Saints team, right? Mm-hmm. And so he constantly wearing my Super Bowl ring and reminding me about it, too. I was like, oh.
He just twisted a knife.
But thanks, bro. That was the boys. Thanks, bro.
No question. In 2011, you got super, super close to the single sack season sack record, finishing just a half sack behind Michael Strahan. Does it bother you? You didn't get a chance to get it.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, I know everybody talks about, Brett sliding for Mike, whatever, but, I say a sack is a sack is a sack. So that year was crazy. I actually had a couple opportunities. So in the Green Bay Monday night game up in Green Bay, I had 2 sacks in the game. Well, they took one from me on Wednesday because Aaron caught the ball, stepped in the pocket, ran in the back of pushed Marshall Newhouse in the back of him, right? Mm-hmm. And he dropped the ball, picked it up, rolled out. I sack him. Wednesday, they take the sack from me and they make it a team sack because they called it a muff.
Wow.
Right? But when Strahan played, and back when I first came in the league, if the ball went over a quarterback's head, you ran to whoever first touched him. That was a sack.
That was a sack. Yes.
That was a sack.
Yes.
So now, but then they changed the rule and it became a team sack, not an individual sack. So they took me. That was my 23rd sack. They took it from me on the Wednesday. Oh, I fought it tooth and nail. I'm like, he regained possession. Like he could have thrown the ball. I tagged him. They called it a muff. And then I had one where I hit Drew Brees right as he threw it, and the ball went forward instead of backward. and then in Chicago, the Chicago game, I was chasing. Forget the quarterback's name. I was chasing him out of bounds, and I'm like, all you got to do is run out of bounds. Nobody's going to fault you for this.
Easy sack.
And he just right as he went out of bounds, he flipped the ball. I was like, I'm breaking my heart. But yeah.
So you were close 3 times, 3 different occasions, and it just didn't bounce your way.
Wasn't meant to be. And then the last chance I had, I'll never forget it. I'm like, we ended up picking the ball off. I think scoring anyways. I'm like, they're going to run this ball out. I already know they are. But I knew it was going to be a pass. I saw the tight end. I jumped to a 9 technique. I'm like, I got one-on-one with the tight end. This is it. I'm smashing this guy. And I slipped coming off the line. And I was just like, nope, wasn't meant to be.
Oh, man. But you still go down in NFL history as one of the best to do it at your position. Granted, you didn't get that single season record, sack record.
Aaron, every time I see Rodgers, Aaron, he reminds me, he's like, hey, remember when they took that sack away from him? Like, yep.
So Aaron is twisting a knife as well.
Well, to his credit, I did hit him a lot in my career, and I talked a lot of trash, so I probably have it coming.
No question. Hey, Jerry, when you look at the current group of Minnesota Vikings defenders, they got a pretty good pass rusher right now on the roster, Danielle Hunter. What makes him so special as a pass rusher?
His body, man. Like I've liked that kid since he came in. He knows how to use his body. I always say he reminds me of Julius Peppers. You remember Julius came in? 6'8", 290, yokes, can do anything. And I think that's what Danielle obviously had good coaching because he knows how to use his body. He knows how to use his length. He knows how to use his strength. A lot of times you'll get like big, guys that are fast. All they want to do is run around people, right? You get guys that are big. All they want to do is try to bull rush muscle, try to, hump some guy or whatever. And, he knows how to set people up. He's got the ability to get around the edge. He's got that long arm technique that he can just, he can toss you by at the end. And
hey, coach. So I want you to put your coach hat on for me. What is the long arm technique for our listeners and viewers?
Long arm technique is right. When you see a guy come, it's about capturing numbers. So like an offensive lineman is taught to capture our inside number. We're taught to capture their inside number to win first contact. So if I'm coming off, let's say if I'm on the right side, right, I'm going to come in 1, 2 on my third step. I'm going to stab my inside arm with my left arm to their inside number. Right. And so now what I'm doing is my goal with that is to try to stop his feet. Right. I want to try to stop the offensive line from his feet. So it's called a long arm technique because one arm is longer than two. Right. So I can turn my body and get one arm longer versus, an offensive lineman's got to punch with two hands. So if I can capture that inside number, forcing him to stop his inside foot. Well, now I'm forcing him to throw his outside hand. And now I can trap his arm. I can knock his arm down. I can come around. If he doesn't stop his inside foot and he stays on skates and he continues backwards, I can hump him by at the top of the rush, fall underneath with the quarterback. It's just a great way to control. And now you're creating leverage right now. So I'm creating a natural lift, right? So people can't see. You always want your arm above your shoulders versus pushing flat in. So yeah, it's just about using speed and momentum, being able to, catch a guy on his inside and get him off. And he does that phenomenally. Right. And because then now you got a guy there, you can bull rush him from there. Like I said, he can shoot his outside arm. You can flip the corner. You can flip the edge. You can toss him by and go inside. And then you can, now if you got him a guy like that, a guy like Danielle, he can come in, he can just flash it, right? He can just touch him. The guy, triangulate the front end, put his head down, swing around him. So yeah, he does that really, really well. And he doesn't have a lot of wasted, I've watched a ton of film on him, but he doesn't have a lot of wasted movements. He's explosive. He's strong. Like I said, he appears to have this mentality that he wants to be great. And that's a big thing. Like, be able to do it year in and year out, year in and year out. You have the consistency because eventually everybody knows where you're at and they're going to try to come at you. So the ability to continue to succeed, even when all the focus is on you is nice. So I'm excited to see how he does this year. I know coming off an injury, but yeah, he's special. He's one of those guys. Him and Myles Garrett both are in that category to me that are special because of the they put in there.
I like that. And I love the technical breakdown because our listeners, our viewers love the ability to learn. And when you talk about elite pass rushers, they all have that long arm technique down to some degree. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You got to, because you can only run by people for so long.
No question.
At some point, technique beats technique, right? As a corner, you can only be athletic for so long. And then you get the league, and everybody's fast, everybody's so you got to have your brain, you got to have a game plan for it. And to be honest, you got to be able to break people down. The biggest problem I had with ball, like sometimes the tackle that was like just mediocre, who was just in your way, you're like, dude, this bum is just in my way. Like, get out of my way, like do something. So I always appreciated playing against technicians because, at some point, whoever's got better technique is going to win. It's more predictable, So, pass rushing is an art, man. And you'll see the great ones. You to set people up and to break people down. We used to have a philosophy. Bob Carmelo, my old coach from Kansas City, told me, we had a stat. If you won 1 out of every 17 pass rushes, you would have 16 and a half sacks for the year, right?
Ooh.
So what do you do with your 16 failures to set up your one victory? So it's a constant chess game. It's a constant, picking up tells, picking up this, and getting a guy into a rhythm. We call them rhythm breakers. So that's what that long arm is great for. That long arm, you can present the same pitch, so to speak, right? And then break the rhythm off different techniques off of that. So it's a really cool technique. And to be honest, like you said, the best have it mastered, and it produces longevity in your career.
What's the ceiling for Danielle Hunter? Sack-wise, what would you this season right now? What would be the ceiling for Danielle Hunter based on the number of sacks you think he could get?
So the benchmark's 10, right? If you're worth your salt, you got to have at least 10.
Yeah.
So then the rest comes into play. You got, what does your offense look like? Because if you're playing from behind the sticks, you're not gonna get many opportunities. So Patrick Peterson being there just probably gave him an extra 3 sacks. Rushing coverage that's I think another thing people don't realize. Rushing coverage work hand in hand. Ty Law taught me that. He would come up to me like, "Hey Jay, how you doing?" I'm like, "Man, I'm whooping this guy." All right, cool. So I won a game after. I was like, "Hey Ty, why do you keep asking me how I'm doing?" Right? He was like, Because if you're whooping the guy, he ain't got time. I'm jumping every route. I'm jumping every single route, right?
Whoa. Can you break that down again, the conversation of in-game conversation between you and your secondary mates? Because a lot of people don't get a chance to hear these type of conversations.
Yeah.
So literally he's asking you how you doing so he can understand what technique he should display against the wide receiver.
Yeah, because Ty was basically telling me, it's like if you're beating your guy, he ain't got time to sit back there and pump the ball. So double move ain't gonna work. Mm-mm. So he would, if we were whooping a guy up front, he would jump every route. And I carried that over Minnesota. That's why I love Antoine so much. I would talk with Twan, and I would say, and then it would relay back too. I'd be like, hey man, you guys got to give me an extra. I need a half step, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm getting chipped. I need a half step. You need to jam him at the line. So maybe he'd come up and press when we could be playing regular cover 2, it could be 3rd and 8. Hey, do me a favor, press on this one, just to give me a little extra, right? Make the guy work on the line. So I think those are the cool nuances that football's about, right? And those communication. I think some people think on defense it's very singular oriented.
Nah.
And you learn that as you go. So I think having Patrick there and then having Danielle there, if those two could get on the same page and understand when Patrick's going to take his chances, or when Danielle's whooping some dude, and they get that communication, and like I said, that might be an extra 4 or 5.
So shoot, you 10. So 10 is the benchmark, right? You said with Pat P there, maybe another 3, and then you throw in another 2 or 3. So literally at least 16, 17.
I think 15. And again, your offense plays a part in it too, right? If you guys are, if you're like I said, if the other team, what's your run defense look like? So we used to always, use that thing. You gotta earn the right to rush the passer. So again, you just understanding your game plan, but man, his ceiling is high. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a 20 sack guy, at some point. For sure. I think, again, as long as it's staying healthy, besides, and he hasn't had a lot of change up in that division.
Yeah.
Right. So that division hasn't changed much. And now you throw in a rookie quarterback in Chicago. I know the dude can run, but we smash rookie quarterbacks. They're not real people.
No question. The standard is the standard.
Honestly, I would say I'm probably, if I'm his coach, I'm expecting 15 from him.
Yeah, I agree with you because he's that type of talent. One crazy stat I wasn't aware of with you in your career, you're tied for the most safeties ever in NFL history. But my question to you is, along with that stat, did you get technical credit as the one that chased Dan Orlovsky out of the back of the end zone?
Yes. So that was a sack and a safety for me. That's why I'm saying that's why I could never be mad at Strahan for getting for Brett, sliding down like that. I was laughing because I think the crazy part was we came around the edge on that one. He took off. He was getting sacked. If he would have stayed in the pocket, he was getting sacked. He was done. And but I think Kevin had like 4 sacks that game, so I was already pissed. I was trying to catch Kevin, and he was so mad that happened. I was laughing, and because I saw him run out the back of the end zone, so I'm pointing and laughing. I knew it was my safety and my sack, and but he kept going. He just kept going.
He was running for his life. It literally looked like he had his face was filled with fear because he was trying to get up out of there.
And it happened so quick. I mean, I barely turned the edge, and he was back. He was gone. But I like Dan because he laughs about it. And I saw him I can't remember. I saw him summertime. He was like, "Oh man, love you, great player." This, that, and the other. We were laughing about it. And usually on his ESPN thing, I always get a text message whenever he's at his house. He has like a picture of him running out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
And so everybody, texts me about it. But yeah, hey, you got to take him where you can get him.
No doubt. I mean, everything you've been able to accomplish in your career has been top level. I mean, Kansas City consistently being in the backfield. Clearly, Minnesota, he was a beast. As a Hall of Fame finalist this year, do you think that knock from David Baker will officially come soon?
I hope so. It's my thing. It's like I always say, it's like it's one of these weird feelings because it's out of my control, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm now getting judged over something I did 6 years ago. So you know what? But it's such an honor to be my first year eligible, to be put in, to know the 12 years I spent in the league. Climbing that mountain. That's kind of to be mentioned, to be a finalist, especially with be a first time finalist in my first year of eligibility with 3 first ballot guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I'm hoping it comes this year if I can make it to the finals again and get in. I think it'd be cool. I think Ware's eligible if he becomes a finalist. Him and my career are pretty much identical. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So to share that with him, it was a guy I love competing against as far as numbers and stats and pushing because he was a phenomenal guy. Him, guys like Julius Peppers, White Freeney, all those. I don't know if they did it, but I always had internal battles. I'd be watching those stat borders. Sack leader like, oh, all right, Ware got 3 this week. I got to go out and do something. So trying to keep pace with everybody. So yeah, man. I hope it comes. When and if it comes, it'll be humbling. It'll be pure elation. It'll be a great day. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I try not to think about it because I don't really have much control over it. But when it happens, it'll be one of those phenomenal moments in my life.
And to prove, to piggyback off of your statement, along with some stats and some points, when you look at the all-time NFL sack leaders, I have the list right here in front of me. Bruce Smith is number 1 with 200. Reggie White is 2, second with 198. Kevin Green, the late great Kevin Green, is 3rd with 160. And as I look down the list, I see ranked number 12, Jared Allen, with 136 sacks. So the individuals that are in front of you, John Randall, Richard Dent, DeMarcus Ware, Terrell Suggs, Jason Taylor, Strahan, Chris Dolman, Julius Peppers. It's a lot of Hall of Famers that are already in the Hall.
Yeah, I finished.
And the guys that will eventually get in.
I finished my career 9th, and then I guess I should have just kept playing because Pep played like 18 years.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'm proud of is nobody had more sacks than me than when I played, and I honestly I look at my total. I was actually sad because Gunther Cunningham was my coach, in Kansas City, and he told me to be worth Derek. I always based everything I did off of Derek Thomas, and trying to do what he did better and faster, right? Mm-hmm. And Gunn told me, he's like, DT averaged 12 sacks a year. Like, if you want to be him, you got to average 12 sacks a year. So that was always my goal. And then I blew my L5 out my last 2 years. And so my sack numbers dipped. And I was like, I think I finished like 11.8 average. I was like,
you're still there. If you want to round it off, if you want to round it up, you can round it up.
My goal was to get to 150. I wanted to get to 150. Fell a little short, but I mean, again, look at the great company, right? I mean,
the great company.
To be up there, and the crazy part, I think there's like in the top, like for me to the top 5, I think we're only separated by like 5 or 6.
Man, it's some legends on this list, man.
Yeah, so I hold on that I did it in 12 years, and some of those guys took 15.
and get this, Jared. The people who you're in front of John Abraham, Lawrence Taylor, Leslie O'Neal, Ricky Jackson, Derek Thomas, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Simeon Rice. You're in front of some great players.
It's insane, man. I remember when I first got my 100th sack, and to me, that was like, it was just crazy. And then just try to chip them off. I'm not gonna lie. The day I passed Derek Thomas and Lawrence Taylor, I didn't say anything, but to me personally, those were some big days, right? And obviously I know, I think they didn't start keeping all of Lawrence's sacks until, a couple years into his career. But those were some cool days. And Leslie O'Neal, because those were big influences on me, in my young career. And I used to watch film on Leslie O'Neal, Derek Thomas, all these guys.
Great ones.
Out. Johnny Randall, obviously. What Bruce and Reggie White did that's insane. Like, to be at that pace for that long is insane. But yeah, man, it's a cool list to be on. It's a cool, when you look at it, you kind of like, yeah, not too bad. So I always just try to keep it in perspective. And like I said, that's why when or if the Hall comes, it's great. I know people get mad, like, oh, you didn't get in this year. I didn't get in that year. For me, I'm like, I mean, how do you argue? There's a whole bunch of people that are deserving. It's not like big, all right. We all got to kind of wait our turn, let the sport riders and voters do what they feel is best. But that's for me. I'm one of those people. I remember when I retired, people were like, how are you going to deal with retirement? I'm like, fine. I have zero regrets. I played at my way. I was never cut. Every trade was based on me asking for it. I got to go to the team that I wanted to go to. and I left it all on the field. And I, you know what I mean? I wish I wouldn't have gotten hurt my last 2 years, but it is what it is. And the good Lord had a better plan for me. And 12 years of having fun and being able to hear 80,000 people scream for you when you smack a quarterback in the back of the head, can't complain about it. So I really, like I said, it's a weird feeling when people ask you, you know, oh, what do you think about the Hall? I'm like, obviously everybody wants to be in it. It's amazing. Yeah. But I'm one of the lucky guys that got to play my career my way and really, you know, accomplished everything I wanted to.
I mean, Hall of Fame committee, Mr. David Baker, come on.
You know,
Jared Allen's waiting for that knock.
I got to talk to David last year when we got called, or I got called to inform me that, you know, I wasn't on it. And he told me, he goes, Jared, you're already Hall of Famer in my book. So I was like, I'll take it.
No question. You just want the jacket, though, just to solidify everything. That's it. You just want the jacket.
I'll take the jacket. I won't be too picky. You don't even have to fit it properly.
No doubt. Jared, a talented guy, multi-talented guy. You're not only known for just laying big hits in the NFL on quarterbacks, but you also appeared in Jackass 3D and leveled Johnny Knoxville a few times. How many takes did that take? And did you have any concern that you might permanently injure him?
Yes. So the sack was a one take. So we did the when him catching the ball over the middle, we did that a few times. And honestly, it's probably my fault because they gave me this helmet from Big Five and I literally could like flex it. And I was like, ooh, I might give myself a concussion if I go in and just smack this guy. So we did probably, you think, two takes on that. And then on the third one, my buddy was like, Jared, you gotta just leave your feet here at some point.
No doubt.
So the third take, I just was like, what I told him too, I was like, you can't, if you cringe up, it's not going to work. Like, I'm going to run through you. You need to just kind of just let it happen. So then we did that. We thought we were done, but I told him, I was like, I'm not a linebacker. So if you really want to know what I do, why don't you drop back and, just let me sack you. Yeah. And he was like, cool. So that was impromptu and it was super muddy. So I was a little afraid of slipping and making myself, look bad, but I hit him hard. And when I drove him into the ground, I was like, oh, and he laid there for a while. And then come to find out he separated his sternum. And I was like, oh, but yeah, medics rushed out, like they kind of cut because his head caught weird. I was like, oh, I felt a little bad about that one. But we became good friends. And that is one of the toughest human beings I've ever met in my life. Those dudes are insane.
Oh, no question. And for your listeners and viewers don't exactly remember what Jared is talking about, go to YouTube. Check it out on YouTube. You definitely see the hit.
It was, I was hoping it was going to be dry because I wanted to like bull rush right over Preston and then do that. But I was like, I better just concentrate on murdering this dude.
So, Jared, you've been doing a lot off the football field. Tell us a little more about your foundation and how listeners and viewers may be able to make an impact.
Yeah, so we build handicap accessible homes for wounded vets all over the country. We've been doing it since 2009. We give them, the cool part about what we do is once we're done building, we hand the keys over and it's mortgage free. So anybody can check out what we do at homesforwoundedwarriors.com. You can donate right there on the side if you want. You can see a list of all our recipients. We have so many great partners throughout the years that they can make it easy for us. So I think we got 4 homes right now under construction. We've given away 18, I believe. So it's been really cool. It's something, people didn't, I didn't even realize at the time, but when our men and women come back from overseas and they're critically wounded, there's a gap in adaptive housing. And so, we started Jared Allen's Homes for Wounded Warriors to basically close that gap. And, it was kind of my philosophy. I come from a military family, too much is given, much is expected. And I felt there's no better way than to serve those, that, basically give us our, fight for our daily freedoms, right? The reason we're free, the reason we get to do what we do is because men and women lay it on the line, overseas, and some of them pay the ultimate sacrifice. Some of them come back, physically wounded, obviously mentally wounded as well. And, kind of felt it was my obligation. I got to live out my American dream, play a sport for a living that, I've been doing since I was 8, and no one deserves that American dream more than them. So that's kind of where we step in and we fill that gap of adaptive housing, and we make them specific. Our homes are built specifically to their needs, their specific injuries, not cookie cutter or anything like that. So it's been a cool deal, and we just keep plugging along and until the need's no more.
Oh, that's a big deal. Jared Allen Holmes for Wounded Warriors. And we also will have the link in our episode description as well. So when listeners and viewers get a chance to click on this episode, the link for your foundation will be there. It will be visible for them to click on to get more information about it and to also be able to donate and to continue to make a positive impact. So I applaud you for that, Jared, because that's a big time blessing for a lot of wounded warriors that have done a lot in supporting us. So I applaud you for that. Big time deal. So before I let you go, I got to get you into our superlative part of this show where I hit you with rapid fire questions. I want your honest, unbiased answer.
Oh, got it.
First one coming at you. I got to send a chip at you. So I don't know if my left tackle can handle you. I got to send my back to kind of chip you a little bit. Top 5 pass rushes in the league right now.
Myles Garrett, Danielle Hunter. Be honest, I don't watch that much football. So top 5. I gotta see. I think Bosa might be. I think he's probably 5th though. Mm-hmm. To Watt, the younger brother. Yeah. And
one more.
The kid from what is it? Bart, the guy there's down in Tampa. What's his name?
Shaquille Barrett.
Barrett. Yeah, the last couple of years, he kind of came out of nowhere.
No question.
I don't know where he came from. But last few years, he's been killing it. So I got to give it to him. Okay,
that's a solid list. Favorite part about playing for the Vikings?
Oh man, that the energy in the dome was insane, man. The just that whole team, the camaraderie, man. That city was amazing. Like for the time of my life when I got there, it couldn't have been better. Mm-hmm. And when that dome was rocking, you could just feel the vibrations off the floor. And it was insane. So man, the atmosphere, honestly, the fans and the atmosphere.
Okay, will you check out a game this season in Minnesota?
Maybe. Kevin's in the Ring of Honor, so I'll probably have to go back for that one. But I haven't watched too much football, so.
Okay. Well, heck, that'd be a great opportunity to go back and support one of your fellow defenders when he goes into the Ring of Honor. Absolutely. Best pro coach you played for?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. Man, I had so many different levels. Probably Herm Edwards.
Okay. Now, this is a good one right here. Best player you ever played with?
That's a long list too. I'm gonna have to say it's a tie with Tony Gonzalez, and obviously Brett Favre is Brett Favre. So I'm just gonna eliminate him from the equation because it's Brett Favre. Yep. And then I'm gonna have to say Kevin Williams. Those two, just because Tony taught me so much about work ethic and what it meant to be great as a young player. Yeah. Tony, I watched this guy in front. I mean, he was out 20 minutes early, 50 minutes early for every practice. He ran the top end of every route, caught every ball you've seen Tony catch in person. He caught hands. And now I should say, those are the best. And then Kevin Williams, I think he is one of the most underrated tackles to ever play the game because he is so powerful, so big, and I think just he's insane. But I mean, my list, you throw influential, it's a totally different answer.
Okay, that's fair. That's definitely fair. But great players. You've been fortunate enough to play with some great, ideal players in the National Football League. So it's a very, very tough answer. Greatest retirement announcement. You can include yourself as well because you had a pretty nice retirement announcement.
Honestly, I haven't seen one better, and I got to give my wife. That was my wife's idea.
How long did it take for that idea to come to fruition?
So not long. I'm not my proudest moment in my life. We were moving back from Carolina to Chicago. Mm-hmm. We've been packing trailers all day, and my feet were killing me. My wife said, "Well, I need to go get a pedicure before we head on out. You should come and get your wife." I'm like, "I don't do pedicures. I'm not a pedicure guy." So in a moment of weakness, I went and allowed the lady to massage my feet because my dogs were barking. and that's why I say not my proudest moment. Got a pedicure. No polish. Never had polish on my toes. Just did the massage thing. So we're sitting there, and my buddy's texting who we're gonna go see. We were gonna go see in Iowa. It was storming in Chicago. He texted us this beautiful like sunset in Iowa. He's like, "This is what you guys got waiting for you. It's beautiful here." So I was like, "You know what we should do? Like, you should just do like a riding off into the sunset, maybe like a Charlie Chaplin style film, no words, just riding off into the sunset." So I was filing my paperwork that day, And my agent, my PR lady was like, hey, you need to put a statement out because otherwise someone from the press will pick up that you're filing your paperwork and it should come from you. So I was like, all right. So we get to Iowa, the storm followed us the whole time there. We get out there, it's brutally cold, wind just
it looked like it was super cold out there.
I'm like, well, so much for the silent film. No one's gonna everybody post me riding into a snowstorm. People's gonna think I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna think. So I took a couple takes because as I was riding away the first time, my daughter, my oldest at the time, yells out, "Dad, don't fall off the horse." Like, crap, we got to do it again.
That was a great announcement, retirement announcement. I hope when we go ahead and really put this out for everybody to see, we can clip that video as well so people can see exactly.
I will say the greatest announcement that nobody ever saw probably has to be twofold, right? Well, it just one-fold, actually. Willie Rofe, and Willie, if you're listening, you maybe have Willie Hunter explain it better. We were in OTAs. Herm was our coach. New coach, everybody's getting after it in OTAs. Willie Rofe, my hands, arguably one of the, if not the best top 2 tackles to ever play the game.
Yeah, beast.
I don't know if someone hit him so hard, but he decided that, he had enough of OTAs. So after practice, he got into his car.
And just left?
Left, right? I don't even know. He might have been during practice. He might have just walked out. I can't remember, but it was OTAs. It was noticed like, "Hey, Willie, where you going?" He's like, "Man, I'm done. I'm going back to North Carolina. Like, I'm done with OTAs." Like, this young cats.
I didn't know that.
And Willie, how you talk? Hey, coach, you this for the okay. I ain't doing this no more, coach. This is for you. And so we just thought he was just done with OTAs.
No, he was done forever.
Training camp rolls around. No Willie Rofe. Herm, I remember one day at practice, Herm goes, "Hey, Shields, hey, Willie. You talk to Willie?" "Nah, man, talk to Willie." And we just never saw him again. Last time I saw him at my retirement party, but before that, the last time I saw Willie Rofe, he got into his Mercedes
and left.
And
during OTAs, was like, "I'm just good." But you guys think he's a vet? We really don't need OTAs. We'll see him training camp.
Never came back.
Yeah, that sounds like the Vontae Davis story when he retired during an actual game for the Bills. Or the sideline, he's just like, "Man, I'm done," and just never came back.
Yeah, I mean, and then I think wasn't Beast Mode left his cleats in the locker after a game or something.
Yeah.
So there's been a few.
There's been a few, no question.
Market David caught some heat for that though, so I don't know.
I didn't know that Willie. I never heard that Willie Rofe story. That's hilarious. Last question for you, Jared. I know you're gonna enjoy this question. Best hairstyle in league history.
Man, best hairstyle league history. That's tough because
you can include yourself because you had your mullet.
Mine wasn't original, so I think if you're gonna go best in history, you got to give it to the originals, right? Like I brought it back. So Bosworth obviously was crushing.
No question. The Boz.
Boz was crushing it.
Troy Polamalu,
right? Like that was his own. That was very. I mean, you got to go back to Howie Long with the flat top.
Yeah, the flat top.
That was kind of like iconic, just flat top. Man, you got to go way back in the day. Was it Andre? Didn't Andre Reed have like the high fade with the Bills?
Yeah, he had the curly fade, the high fade. Andre Reed.
Who had James Lofton? I think it was.
Lofton. No, I don't know if Lofton had a high. I know Lofton had that Apollo Creed mustache, that real thick mustache, but I can't remember exactly what kind of hairstyle. I know Andre Reed had like a curly fade.
You're right. He kind of had the curly fade. Gosh, who was it? Someone for the Bills. Well, it might have been Bruce Smith. Kind of had the high fade for a while.
Yeah, Bruce had the high.
Not overly high. But no, I can't. I mean, you go back to what in the 70s. You think, and even look at like old. Gosh, who was the receiver for the Bills? Him and Lenny, not for the Chiefs. Him and Lenny Dawson when they were drawing the play in the.
For who? For what team?
For the Chiefs, they were drawing the Otis.
For the Chiefs?
Yeah, they were drawing. Remember the iconic picture where they're drawing the play in the dirt. He got the big old fro. I mean, there were so many people with big old fros back in the day. To me, I can't. When the guys taking their helmet off, you got the Boz, just nastiness coming out the back.
Otis Taylor? Are you talking about Otis Taylor for the Chiefs?
Otis Taylor, yeah. I just think of iconic moments and iconic pictures where you're like, you got to throw Jim McMahon in there. So now I got to pick one. Gosh,
yeah. And remember, Walter had the jerry curl with the headband.
Yeah, dude, I mean, come on. Like I'm saying, like it's so. As a man who loves just awesome original hairstyles, I don't know that I could pick one. So greatest of all time, iconic. Oh man, you know what?
We gotta put this out and let's get the fans.
I need you like a Facebook post, but you know what? I'm gonna go. Yeah. I'm gonna go with because I'm a mullet guy. Although I don't even know if Boz was credited with the original mullet. So Boz, but I got to give Polamalu credit because I think Polamalu kind of he was like that first bringing it back and transcended, and he had a freaking shampoo commercial.
Yeah, Head and Shoulders.
The guy had Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, I mean that's ideal.
Yeah, I might have to tip the hat to him.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Well, hey, Jared, that sums it up for us. Patrick Peterson, Bryant McFadden, all things covered. Man, I know Skull Nation's gonna love this. The Chiefs, I know they're gonna love this as well, man. Thank you for giving me some time as you sit there and just enjoy life. And hopefully, like I said, Mr. Baker come knock on that door and give you that invite.
I hope I don't have to go get all dressed up and be at the finals and get the phone call, be all disappointed.
you might have to.
I want to know what Pat's fine is though for missing this meeting.
Yeah, that's the thing. And what listeners and viewers don't know, we do have a fine. Every seg had a fine room, a fine bucket for you late. You got to put it in there. And that usually goes to the dinner. I know in Pittsburgh, I always used to go to the dinner. So if you miss a pick in practice, if you're late to a meeting, if you don't show up, you got to put something in that fine box. So we got to get that fine together for Pat P.
I'll make sure I'm gonna call the guys at the Vikings, make sure they get it on his check.
No doubt. That'd be super dope. Hey, Jared, man, I appreciate you, man. Wish nothing but the best for you and your family, and hopefully you get that Hall of Fame call sooner than later.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and I said, God bless you and your family as well. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you.